All right, this is session number 8, a third phase of detailing. So I got pretty far on the front face last session, but I didn't quite get to the second level of detail. So this time around, I actually get to the second level of detail, adding in more creases and dips and dives and muscly bits and wrinkles and things like that. And all of this is kind of random. The brow part that kind of surrounds the finger wavy part, the forehead of the skull, is pretty open. So I'm trying to leave that pretty open without getting too fiddly about details in there, just to give your eye a break when you're looking at the figure. Plus, the more detailed parts are where I want your eye to rest. So the more detail in a specific area, like around the eyes, that's where I want your eye to kind of go and stuff like that. So, or I'm just being lazy and I can't figure out what to do with the forehead. That could be it too. Anyway, again, this is a pretty tedious process, so I've compressed this hour session to 5 minutes. And it doesn't look that like it's going too fast anyway, because it's at this point it's a lot of small little changes, little fiddly bits here and there, smaller creases, little indents, very subtle small changes that don't really look major, but when you compare where I started to where I end up, you can tell like a lot has happened. So but to sit through a full hour of that, or even 10 minutes of that, it might be tedious. So I decided to, these detailing phases are going to probably all be at the 5-minute mark, just because it's interesting if you're the one doing the detailing, but if you are not, perhaps it is not so interesting. And again, I still use the same brushes that I've been using this entire time: the Move brush, the clay buildup brush, Damien standard, the orb creases, that kind of stuff. Very simple brushes. Towards the end, there's a couple of effect brushes that I've downloaded that I use. I think one of them is like a rock texture that has some interesting deformations and breakups that work well for the smooth bone stuff. So I break it up with kind of a rocky texture, and I think the next session I might break that up a little bit, or I just might move on to the back face or something like that. Probably just move on to the back face. But yeah, more cleanup of the edges around the finger waves and adding in some more wrinkles. This is all done with the Damien standard brush. It is an extremely useful tool for making creases or sharpening edges. So where the plates of different forms meet up, you can use the Damien standard brush to kind of make those pinchy areas more pinchy. Here I'm trying to figure out what to do with these little indent parts in the back towards the behind. I guess this is where the temples would be, but nothing I do I like, so I erase a lot of it and just move on. I don't know if I have a good solution for that area yet, but I think what I'm gonna do is just move on to the back face and start with that, because I can't spend all my time on one face. If this was a 2D drawing, I would be spending a lot of time jumping around. Like, I might work on the face and then go onto the foot, and then maybe like a hand or the arms and that kind of stuff. So that gives me a better overall. It forces me to work on the overall piece as a piece instead of just focusing on the little individual bits. I don't quite do that when I sculpt, just because it's easier in my brain to separate pieces and then work on them individually. But I don't want to make one part look obviously more detailed than another. So I think I'm gonna stop from the front and work on the back face, and then continue from there. So here's where I was using that rock detail brush, and I think it breaks up the forms nicely. It breaks up the smooth areas pretty nicely, adds a little bit of subtle texture to it. And that's it for this particular session. Here is a nice clean keyshot render. I abuse the hell out of keyshot because it's easy to come up with a really clean render of your object. You just plug in some lights and figure out what you want to do and hit go. So if you enjoyed this, check out my Patreon, support my work. I am going to be collecting the full hour sessions into an online course. But you can see some of the other things that I've been working on Patreon. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share with your friends, and thank you for watching!